afternoon, everyone, once again to this amazing conference. With great pleasure and pride, I once again welcome you all to India's largest free career guidance digital conference. It is an initiative by 3G IRPS IIT Madras Research Park. It is a very honorable achievement for us to be a part of this World Book of Records event, and this event is streaming live on YouTube as well, other than this Zoom platform. And at this moment, many people are watching us live. So we are really glad and thank you all for being such a lovely and enthusiastic audience. We, we are really glad that you were participating with our speakers and initiating a conversation in the chat box virtually. Thank you. So here I am, your host for this session. This session would be a panel discussion, and we have many esteemed speakers lined up for you as the panelist who would be talking about the importance of career counseling and psychometric tests in India. Looking forward to the session. So here I would like to do something very interesting with you all, and I would want your participation. As I introduce our panelists, I would like you all to guess their names and write it in the chat box. Let's see how well do you know our speakers. So the first panelist for the day, who will be the moderator for this session as well. He is the Director of Knowledge and Learning at Bigways in Genomics Technologies Private Limited. He's an entrepreneur, strategic coach, and a consultant with over 30 years of life and diversified vertical experience. He has worked in over 5 MNCs in India as well as abroad. He is also the founder CEO, Alternative Careers, and the chairman of Institute of Management of Life. He coaches organizations as well as individuals how to change and adapt to the rapidly changing world, increase the cash flows, and diversify your income. I welcome on board Dr. Ramanullah Khan. Welcome, sir.
Hi, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you.
Next up, we have currently the founder and CEO of MindLaw, a machine a machine-driven platform for students, educators, and career coaches. He has worked for over 10 years in the corporate sector, working with organizations like Accenture Strategy and Maruti Suzuki across various domains spanning from strategy consulting, corporate strategy, and education advisory. Awarded by the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, and UAE government, he seeks to make scientific career guidance uh, I'm sorry.
Yes, let's welcome with the name.
Yeah. He has also cracked many exams like CAT, GMAT, CLAD, and many more competitive exams. So he is an amazing mentor for us to reach our dream college, and he puts in all his personal experiences to guide us. Other than his achievements, talking about his personal interest, he is a wildlife buff and a diehard cricket fan. So, not talking any further, I would like to welcome the very young and very inspiring entrepreneur, Mr. Prateek Bhargava. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for the warm introduction. Looking forward to the panel and obviously connecting with all the participants here. Look forward.
Thank you, sir. We're really glad to have you. The next panelist on the list is a serial entrepreneur, author, education architect, biz coach, and a TEDx speaker, and also a Toastmaster. She had pursued her degree in engineering, but she had entrepreneurship in her blood. And here she is today with us as the CEO of I Love Mondays, working with young adults to help them make career choices. Also, she has recently launched her book, I Love Mondays, Embrace the Next Generation of Careers, #Yellow Collar. She knows over 6 different languages. She is none other than Miss Mala Mary Martina, also known as MQ. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonia, for that wonderful introduction. And hello to all the other panelists and to everybody who's tuned in on Zoom and YouTube.
Thank you, ma'am. The next panelist we have in line is the founder of Hikewise, which is an online career counseling and self-assessment platform for school and college students. He has also co-founded VLED EduVentures, which is the parent company of Hikewise, which is one of the India's best online personalized career development platform. This company was founded in 2017 along with a bunch of like-minded individuals, primarily from IIT Kharagpur. Please extend your warm welcome to Mr. Naufal Ali sir. Welcome, sir.
Hello, hi. Thank you for the great introduction. I look forward to, participate in the panel. I would also share with the team 3G and Dr. Sahid Soleil.
Thank you, sir. Our next panelist on board is a public speaker, a career counselor, and presently working as a social development and education project manager with iDream Career. He is responsible for enhancing career guidance skills in more than 450 career counselors trained and certified by IDC. He joined IDC as the project manager for the UNDP Karnataka project. He has over 11 years of experience in the learning and development industry with over 5 years dedicated to career counseling of school students. He pursued his education to become a professional chef, but soon he realized his passion and strength to be the mentoring young adults. He worked in firms like Wipro and then some of the most prestigious schools across the country. He is an illustrator, a painter, and a nature enthusiast by interest. I would like to welcome Thomas John, sir.
Thanks for the warm introduction, Sonia. Looking forward to talking to everyone else. Hi to everybody.
Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, our last panelist is the Vice President at Univariety Business Head for the Global Career Counselor online course in collaboration with UCLA Extension and Super Counselor Program at Univariety. I extend my heartiest welcome to Arshad Mahmood, sir. We welcome you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sonia, for the introduction. And great to have here, in fact, for this great conference that you're organizing. Look forward to speak to the other panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Good afternoon. So here I hand over it to you, Amanullah, sir. Without any further ado, let's begin.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you, 3G, for this wonderful session. We heard some very eminent speakers before the lunch, and it was an eye-opener for many of us. I'm sure you'll all agree on that. It's eye-opener because this is the first of its kind happening in the world, and it's India to take on to the world now. With such a young population and energetic population looking for opportunities, there is a need for career guidance for sure. And we have some very interesting, eminent panelists here. Mala, Maria, we have Pratik Bhargav, we have Naufal Ali, we have Praveen Kumar, we also have Arshad Mahmood and Mr. Thomas. And on behalf of 3G IRS, I take this opportunity to conduct this, I would say, moderate the whole thing today. I am privileged to actually talk to you all. Though I have come from a background of talent acquisition and talent transformation with various organizations that we have used many kind of tools, and you all have so many tools and so many systems that you have developed that could transform the way people could actually look at careers and be able to be happy and successful in whatever they do. Now, in order to do that, it's my honor and privilege to ask and help you all share some more information as to how coaches, parents, children, who are all stakeholders of this organization, apart from the institutions that apply these programs, could benefit from these programs that you all have so much to share. I know time is a limitation factor, but I'm sure you will all have well prepared and come to help us have the right kind of input for the audience that are looking for. And I would like to start my first to someone who says, I love Mondays, That's something that actually grabbed my attention. And Maria, I believe, Monday is something that people actually dread to go for work. And I'm sure that's the reason you put on that word called I love Mondays. Because you wanted to make it sure that people love doing what they do. And I'm sure you had something more to share. And as an organization, I'm sure you contribute a lot to the upliftment of this kind of a spirit And in that spirit, what you contribute is what we would like to hear from you. How could the coaches benefit? Why should coaches get connected to you? How would coaches be able to help the parents and the children and thereby help this nation grow in order to be a contributory nation to the world? Maria, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Am I audible?
You're very much audible to all of us.
Okay, fantastic. So good afternoon once again to everybody. So I'm really excited to be a part of this platform, more so because I'm also a little envious because I think if I was a teenager or a youngster, and if I had the opportunity to connect with so many people who are doing similar work and adding value, I mean, imagine the kind of person I would grow up to become, right? All the panelists are extremely competent individuals helping young people choose careers they love, right? Helping them all possibly fall in love with Mondays. All right. So do I have about 5-7 minutes?
Yes,
Dr. Khan?
Maria. Yeah.
5-7 minutes? Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay, so let's see how we can maximize this 5-7 minutes for you. All right. So you could be in one of two categories. Category one is you have absolute clarity of what you want to do, or kind of you have clarity. And the other category is you're absolutely confused. What do I do? And this could be a confusion from a space of I don't know what to do at all, or there are so many things that I'm good at. How do I choose one? Right? So you could be in one of these two categories. So how do we take it forward from here? All right. A couple of things for us to note, right? Number one, the future of work is very, very different. Welcome to a whole new world, right? So what does this whole new world mean to you and possibly us who are still in the workforce? All right. So the first thing is, remember people would have told you think outside the box. Yeah. You have to be creative, innovative, blah, blah, blah. All right. This whole new world is a world where there is no box. There is no reference point. The nature of jobs, the kind of skills, everything has changed, right? Which is exciting, and it can also be scary. But y'all are young people, so you're like, yeah, carpe diem, let's seize the day. Let's go and conquer the world. All right. So here's two things that I thought I would share with you all today. Number one, how do you identify what you're passionate about? All right. And number two, I want to leave you with one trend that you can all look out for in the future of work. All right. So let's go to number one. How do you identify what you're passionate about? Okay. Whatever you love doing, whatever you enjoy, whatever you feel good, all of that is right. But most often in my 7 years of working with young people, I've realized that the reason they choose the wrong career is because they haven't identified the difference between fascination and passion. Interesting, right? Difference between fascination and passion. For example, you might want to be a YouTuber because, I mean, come on, it's easy money, right? You become famous, you make a lot of money, and you can sit at the comfort of your home and you can make YouTube videos and you also become a celebrity, right? But is it that easy? Or you want to be a lawyer because your favorite series is Suits. So you waltz into this fancy office, all suited up, and you're having fancy conversations with people, and then you make a lot of money, right? So what's the difference between fascination and passion? So here's something that I think you can think about. What is it that you're willing to spend your time and money on? What is it that you're willing to spend your time and money on? Let's take an easy example. Let's say you are passionate about fitness or maybe fascinated. Are you willing to spend time to hit the gym or work out? Are you willing to spend money to eat right, get the right kind of supplements, get the right kind of trainer, etc., right? So if you're willing to spend time and money, that means you're passionate. If you're not, maybe it's just fascination and it's not really passion, and that's okay. Right? Most commonly, I get asked, ma'am, I want to be a filmmaker. What do I do? So the first question I ask is, okay, show me some of the films that you've made. Oh, so the thing is, I haven't really done a course in filmmaking. I don't have a fancy camera. So you get where I'm coming from, right? So this stems from a space of fascination. I think it's okay. Fascination is like the first, it's like the starting point to start figuring out what you're passionate about. Okay, so what can you do? I'd like for you to really make a list of all the things that you actually spend time and money on. Do you love watching anime? Are you spending time playing games all the time and you're figuring out, oh, you know what? I wish the new season of Fortnite was scripted differently. If I were to script it, I would do this. Are you listening to music and constantly processing how it could have been done differently? So what are you spending your time and money on? Make a list of that. And I think that's a great list to start with. That's number one. How do you find your passion? Number two, this is my favorite part. All right. I get totally kicked about this because I wish this was there 10 years ago when I was starting off my career. Remember, we've been told don't put all your eggs in one basket, and mostly with respect to savings and investment. Right. Now, here's where you can apply it to your skills and careers. We are not looking at one individual taking up one job for the rest of their lives. We are looking at one individual taking up several jobs, exchanging several skills with several companies at the same time.
Wow.
This is called the gig economy. GIG. Okay, it came from the space of musicians hired for a gig. They would go perform a gig, get paid for it, and then move to another gig. Right? So we're all entering the world of the gig economy. What does this mean? Okay, so I'm going to actually take Sonia as an example, right? We all heard her speak, extremely competent individual, very good screen presence, right? So how do you know what can you be a gigger in? All right. So here are two things. Number one is you assess your strengths. And number two, you look at the skills that you have. So let's go back to Sonia, right? Her strength is communication. Now her skill is speaking to the camera. Okay. Because her strength is communication, she can also develop another skill of standing on stage and addressing a live audience. She could also develop a skill of being a podcaster, right? So one strength can lead to several skills, and those can lead to several career opportunities. I'm not kidding you. During this pandemic and lockdown, my friends, kids who are way younger, like 10, 15 years younger to me, are making money not from one source, but at least 5 different sources. If you've ever been told you're a jack of all trades, I think it's time to take that as a compliment. Now, what we just need to do is take that being a jack off and become a master of it, and really exchange those skills with different industries and make money from that. So welcome to the gig economy. All right. So very quickly summarizing it, right? Identify your passion, not your fascination. You can start with a list. What is it that you're willing to spend your time and money on? And secondly, what are your strengths? If you don't know, ask your friends, ask your family, ask your mentors. Make a list of your strengths and see what are the possible skills you can develop, and who can you market these skills to, and what possible careers you can pursue at the same time. And I think with these two, I'm really looking forward to listening to the other panelists. And yeah, let's have a great Saturday afternoon, everyone. Dr. Khan, back to you.
Thank you, Mala. It was a really good insight for the young generation who's looking for this. It would also be nice if you could also just share in a minute how the coaches and parents could benefit from this, and how would you like that to be happening there?
Career coaches and parents?
Yeah.
Right. So we are also in the workforce. So as much as parents are looking at their children, preparing for the future of work, I think we as individuals also need to prepare for the future of work. So that's number one. So maybe unlearning and upskilling. And for coaches, I think the parameters that were used before to assess how an individual can fit into the space of work have changed. So it's not just an assessment. It's not just the conventional careers. In fact, the NEP has come up with how the science, commerce, and humanities lines are blurred, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So I think, yeah, just looking forward to a whole new world and upskilling ourselves, if that adds value, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good insight given by you, Mala. Basically, you summarized telling that, you need to use a lot of assessment tools in order to identify your inborn talent and what's to be acquired as another talent, and create a genius out of whatever you're trying to do, right?
Yeah. New age assessment tools.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, Mala.
Absolutely.
And it was a good insight, and I'm sure whether other panelists also would like to add on to this, and also maybe, compliment as an icing on the cake as they go forward. We have Mr. Pratik with us, and he comes with an immense insight about this kind of tools that has to be used and systems that has to be used. He also happens to be a well experienced in this industry, young, dynamic, and can connect with the audience from Mindler. And I'm sure many coaches are looking at what's Mindler all about. How can we benefit from Mindler? And we should hear from the founder and CEO himself, I think. The question to you is, Pratik, how could coaches benefit from this? How could parents benefit from the programs that you deliver to the audience? And this is something that I'm sure all of them are looking at it as a solution for their next generation jobs that they're looking for.
Thank you, Dr. Kant. Sure, I'll be glad and happy to take that up. But before we answer that, as any aspiring career coach, and I understand most of the participants in the conference today are career coaches or aspiring career coaches, so I'm going to limit my point of view on largely that, but happy to take questions. So if you look at the career guidance landscape in India, it's massive, and the beauty of the problem that we are trying to solve is that the stakeholders are multiple. It's just not that the student is not just the only stakeholder. Parents are equally critical. All stakeholders who are involved in the decision-making process are also equally a part of it. And thus, I'll give you a few very critical stats, okay? Stat number one, 99% schools in India do not have a structured career guidance setup. The fact that we're the youngest nation in the world, we have the youngest workforce which is going to go out. The kind of opportunities that are there for them, schools have to play a huge role in it. And the fact that 99% of our schools don't have a career guidance setup, it's a little alarming. So that's step number one. This creates the need for career coaches because you have so many schools that require this. And even if you just take the global standards, there is a requirement of at least 1.5 million career coaches who are required to actually guide and handle the students. And why this need is there comes from the third stats, which says that, and this was a massive research that Mindler had done with Times of India, which was that 93% of our students in India do not know more than 7 careers. Okay, now imagine the situation where a student studying in a school can't even name beyond 7 careers. All this new age stuff that we keep talking about, that machine learning will come in, AI will take over, all of that will happen. But at the grassroots level, what is happening is the student is just not aware. Majority of them would limit themselves to career options like engineering, and they'll not call it engineering, they'll call it JE, by the way, right? So that's the kind of mindset that eventually we are dealing with the masses. Obviously, there will be a good percentage of student base who are empowered, who are learning, who are evolving. But if you look at the 250 million user base place, it's a little issue that we all need to really contribute and work on. And that's where we as Mindler come in. Those are the 3 basic problems that we are trying to solve. So on one end, what we have done over the last few years is build a absolutely comprehensive platform which allows the human bias in one side to reduce, okay? And the need for human intervention is critical. Nobody is doubting that, but the bias which can come in because of lack of information, just like students are not aware of it, it's almost humanly impossible for a career coach today to know about every possible college, every possible exams. Like, unlike if you take career guidance to helping students to go to the US or the Western countries, for example, there are a limited number of exams. In India, if you just look at law or design as a domain, and career coaches can resonate, the number of exams, the number of opportunities that open up is massive. So you need technology there. So what we do on one side is give students a platform wherein, right from comprehensive assessments, which have gone through immense amount of research and validity, and we can discuss this later, I think, in the later part of the session in terms of what all went into it, leads to automatic road planning, which is once a student has narrowed down a career path, what kind of colleges fit in, what kind of exams they need to take, what kind of scholarships fit in. So that's one part of the window. The other is, what we have done is converted this into a SaaS product which any career coach can use. So today, if there's a career coach sitting in any part of the country, in less than 5 minutes, you can have your co-branded or a white label kind of a website up. On a subscription basis, you could use assessment codes which are designed and validated by us and extended to all the career coaches, because eventually the idea is to democratize quality career guidance for everyone. And that can only happen wherein a few major tech players who take the lead, develop it, but make those tools and solutions available to everybody. So that's something which we're doing. And also to finally to add, in terms of keeping that gap in mind of 1.5 million career coaches, we at Mindler have also collaborated with the NCDA, which is the largest credentialing body in the world. And that's how Sahid and I have been also talking, and we got into participating in this, and Sahid was also part of that entire event. So that's where it came up. And what we are trying to do is, through a multi-level training program, which we have created, which is a hybrid online and a lot of personal intervention, training, and guidance. That certification program allows career coaches to actually gain the necessary skills and know-how, not just through maybe a few videos or recordings. The idea is to actually go through a sustained process of learning, because career guidance is eventually a skill. It's something which you need to master by practice. So train them, certify them, and very importantly, empower them with the right career guidance tools so that they can use the right set of technology to do that. Right. So that would be my few point of views on what we can add as value. And but parents, largely the last point, which I didn't cover. Parents, I think it's all about empowering and learning. They have to play a huge role in enabling students, right? We come across different types of parents, and that's a completely different debate in terms of how they deal with students, and there are pros and cons of each. But I think our role as career coaches or a career guidance organization is to work as much as we can towards empowering them so that they have the right mindset and knowledge. And because if they don't have their biases, which is largely due to lack of information, I think the life of a student can be much easier.
So basically, what you said is very, very valuable, Pratik. And you also mentioned that, it's about mindset and skill set that need to be analyzed and, be given a right kind of career guidance. We all know that, this career guidance as a word was being used, but actually it was course guidance actually in the past. Now the need has come to be more specific, to be a career guidance in order to be able to have a gentleman have most important aspect of his life being happiness and joy in whatever they do, and also be able to earn a decent kind of a living that's possible. And we also now know that the 3G IRS has also produced something called as a blue book, which you can refer to, and there the tool set that you have, the blue book that you have, can all be connected. That's what you try to mean, isn't it, Mr. Pratik?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a very valid point in terms of usage of the words. In our part of the world, career counseling, career coaching, career guidance is all jumbled up, right? Everything means the same. And in our experience of, I also worked to try to get certified as life coaches, also worked with all these international bodies. There's a huge difference between what career counseling is and what career coaching is. They are two completely different worlds. And what we are trying to do with most of our people and all these certifications, while we use career counseling, it's largely what everybody is trying to do is career coaching, trying to help kids and move away from just helping them select the right course. It's about, as I think Mala also mentioned, it's very important to first narrow down which are those career or domains and I'll not say it's a good fit for you. I'll use the word where you have the highest probability of success. Nobody can tell you that this is the domain you should look at. However, given your innate skill sets, strengths, there are certain domains wherein naturally your probability of success will be much higher. So that's what you need to find. And from there on, you need to emerge to different kind of domains, because eventually we are living in an era wherein, and I think most of you would have heard Parikshit in his last session, that we are living in an era where the top 10 careers of today did not exist 10 years ago. Right. So if as career coaches, everybody comes out and talks to you about it, eventually you're going to be entering into a domain wherein nobody really knows what that career will be. But what will work for you is those core skill sets which apply for every career domain. That will not change. And that's what we are trying to focus on and try to build skills on.
Thank you, Pratik. You connected it so well. In a fast changing world, the need to have a continuous career guidance is so critical, because careers that did not exist 10 years back and careers that are not yet produced for the next 10 years need to be actually bridged very well with the career guidance. Thank you so much. It was a very, very useful information. I'm sure the audience are benefiting from this, especially those who are looking at wanting to become career coaches, how the skill set and tool sets can actually become. This is just an awareness session. I'm sure when you interact more with them, you will understand the audit side of it. You'll also understand the application side of it. Awareness, audit, and apply is all the three areas that you'll all like to work on. Also, I think because of the lack of time that we have, we'll again come back if we have time, Pratik and Mala. But we would like to have the insight from, I think we have a very experienced panelists here. Thomas has something to add on this. I'm sure he would like to add with his immense experience that he brings to the panel. How would you look at this, sir? What the same question, of course, to you. Right. But then, how would you look at parents benefiting from it, and the students, and also the institutions which are looking at having tools that can help them narrow down to, as you Pratik said, probability area.
So to answer that, if I may, I have about a 10-minute presentation kind of designed to be able to answer all of those questions. If I may share that again,
I would like to check with the organizers, if they have that kind of a time, because the session started a little late because they all are running exactly on time, on cutting edge actually.
Right. So you can ring the proverbial bell if I'm taking too long.
Okay.
I don't mind actually cutting it short, but I think to be able to give a little bit of context, if I may, I just wanted to be able to tell you the scope of work that we do. First of all, when it comes to the Indian landscape, I think I don't want to sound very repetitive by saying whatever my panelists have already said before. I'd like to be able to give some perspective on one of the tenets of today's conversation, which was scale. Right. So if you're looking at scale, I think some of the projects that we have done gave us some amounts of learnings as to what kind of nuances are there at scaling up something at the level that you're looking at. So first of all, I'd like to be able to tell you as to what kind of work we've done before. So we work with about 15 million students already, with about 73,000 schools, partnering with about 12 state governments. And of course, through our NGO and CSR partners alone, we've impacted about 50,000 students plus. And one of the reasons why a lot of these work has been coming in is because we have about 1,000 plus counselors who are certified across India and the Middle East. And one of the reasons that I think both Prateek and Mala would agree with would be that information dissemination tends to be one of the biggest challenges that we have right now, which is where tech comes in, right? So I think all of us collectively would agree that we have similar efforts taken in that space, where we try to get accurate information, which is unbiased, which is content that is constantly updated, which is coming from multiple sources. So I won't take too long talking about this, but I just like to be able to give in some insights as to what I've seen. I think some of them would be repetitive also. About 1 in 50,000 students in India get holistic career guidance. You need at least one counselor for 250 students. That's the number that I came up to at a yearly level. That's the amount of gap that we have. There were studies done by the Deccan Herald about in April this year, where they found out about 50% of MBBS students want to opt out midway from the program. Not that they eventually do because they're scared, because they think this is the only space that I can work with. They don't like it is what came out. What that actually means is that how that translates into society is you have a 50% chance of having a doctor who does not like to operate on you. That's a very scary proposition for me. About 2,400 students dropped out from the IITs itself. And one of the main reasons for that is because people may have a misconception of where they want to be. And LinkedIn has provided, and there are many researches about it. I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here as to how important career guidance really is. We all know that. We all agree on that. I think there is a certain sense of career sleepwalking that is going on. People don't exactly know where they're headed. They are in a sense of, using the current situation as a launchpad for the next one without knowing what the next situation is going to be. Right. So I would like to bring some perspectives on scale. And unfortunately, in our country, where we look at the collectivist decision, where the child takes a call basis the father and the mother and the other family members, the teachers, and so on and so forth, we have to include all the stakeholders involved. Now, in that process, I think some of the learnings that we had from our massive statewide projects were, number one was standardization and benchmarking. Now, no matter what kind of assessment you take, you have to have the right kind of sample size that you assessed. And unfortunately, we don't have a homogeneous sample size for India. We have rural and urban students who behave very differently, who react very differently. So I think number one question is, how early do you start? Now, career counseling in itself tends to be a very late on stuff that people start to take seriously probably at class 9 or 10 or probably later. But technically speaking, you have children learning right from birth how to solve problems in society, right? So how early can you go? So if you're not looking at career guidance or streams or colleges or courses, you at least can start off earlier, much earlier with skilling systems, with character skills, with personality development areas, which tend to take shape much earlier all in life. Start wide because there are a lot of nuances in your data sets that you get when you're assessing students, when you're talking to them. I have noticed when I was managing the Karnataka project that there are nuances between districts as well. There are choices that they're making that are widely different from each other. There are societies that are very, very different in the way they think, in the way they communicate with the parents. And sometimes getting as wide as a populace as possible would be able to give you exactly, because usually education is a slow moving behemoth. You don't get results unless you look at a 20-year timeline, right? The actual results that you want to see whether the person is being contributed to society is if it's done at a much wider scale. The third part is consistency, which is number one is having a standardized assessment that assesses not only the academic aptitude. We have so many tests for that. We need to be able to assess interest areas. We need to be able to assess personality areas. How would they behave in certain situations as well? And consistency in that is paramount, and that has to be probably looked at various sample groups too. And I think when I say consistency as well, I've done a little bit of study on the most effective coaching systems in the world. The most competitive coaching system in the world right now is sports coaching. The results are there. I think everyone agrees with that. But if you look at the way they behave, the average sports coach, let's say for an American football team, spends about 70 hours a week doing coaching, tutoring, scouting for new talent, and understanding the opponents. Right. So there are so many different types of work that they do. And the most important part of the work is the number of conversations we have. So when you see success when it comes to coaching, it is directly, revolving around the number of conversations between the mentor and the mentee. So once a year counseling session doesn't essentially work. You have to have a sustainable system that works within the ecosystem of the school. And it has to be, the oversight has to be from a bigger body. It cannot be always through an external vendor as well. And
Thomas, also, if you could slightly rush through, because 2:45 is our end time, and we have this
what we thought was very important was to create networks between educators, parents, local employers within regions, because what we are mostly overlooking is the rural populace when it comes to career guidance and counseling. We mostly are looking at only the urban populace. The rural populace is the larger population that we have to address. So if you're able to connect the employment exchange services, the alumni networks, you customize a psychometric assessment as per the language, the information dissemination system as per the languages, the regional languages, and also skill them as per what kind of local geographies you can see. The other part was to be able to link careers to curriculum as well. We train teachers, we upskill them, helping them understand that. But I think steady channels of communication between teachers, parents, students are regularly required. And I think documentation of those interventions go a long way. It's a very, very small aspect. But I think mostly all of this can be done at scale only if you have support from the board, only if you have support from the state, right? So I think, addressing one of the primary tenets, what I can bring in from our experience in this space when it comes to scale was that you need to have support systems from various stakeholders involved. You got to have everyone's buy-in, and you got to have more collaborative systems, which probably will address multiple geographies out there. So I hope I've been within the 10-minute format. I'm really sorry.
I think you consumed the time very well, and also brought to the audience an understanding that there is a huge need for career coaching and career guidance as a profession, and there is a scope for doing that. And all we need to do is that the entire ecosystem has to be put in place together, because there is a lot of stakeholders involved in it. And I'm sure all the other panelists also would agree with that. With this, can we have the support from the technical team to have all the other panelists also are visible to the audience, please? And on behalf of Dream Career, I think you gave in some very good insights. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. And look forward to having some more insights with the help of a very eminent gentleman, Mr. Arshad Mahmood, from a background that is so well connected with career guidance, who can add immense value to this. I would request Mr. Arshad Mahmood to throw some light on this. How would this benefit the parents? How would this benefit the coaching as a profession? Is that a viable profession by itself in the near future? Mr. Arshad Mahmood, please.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Khan. And so quickly, a few words of my organization actually. So I work for an organization called Univariety. We are a 7-year-old organization. We, of course, a EdTech platform. We use technology largely counseling students. We work almost with 500 schools all over India, setting up a counseling system in the school. And we are funded by InfoEdge, the Naukri.com company. So they funded us. Apart from that, we also have collaborated with Fortune magazine, the Fortune India, in rating the best schools, the best 50 schools in India. And with that, we have also come up with a program, a career counseling course actually, which is in collaboration with University of California, Los Angeles Extension. And that's among the top 50 universities of the world actually. So we started this course. So coming to the questions actually about, I heard Mala also, Pratik and Thomas, all of them are basically, and I also agree strongly that there's a big demand of guidance required. Students require career counseling both in rural and in urban areas, and so we require career counselors. Absolutely, that we all agree. We have trained about, as I've told, about 4,000 candidates so far. And among them, we also launched a program called Super Counselor, where it's an incubator model where we help candidates to start their own counseling setup. So about 600 super counselors are there who are working, and we feel very happy when we see them being successful. So coming to the students part, yes. So career counseling, we know that it's a holistic process. What's Univariety's approach is that there are many stakeholders. Like, we have the teachers who are there in the school. So a lot of schools agreed to get trained on this career counseling course. And like the Oak Ridge, we have Pathways, many big schools. They trained their teachers. So they wanted a culture transformation, and teachers could relate the careers to the student. So that step happened. Once the teachers are important, the parents, we know they have to have a close watch at their kids. Actually, of course, that is there. And with that, the school counselors, there are some schools have counselors, so they help the kids. And of course, the professional counselor comes in place. We also thought that why not bring the alumni? So the school, so we have alumni platform also, which is interesting. Say, for example, a student wants to take admission in Ashoka University, and he is looking at humanities. Now, if the technology platform that we have, which gives these kids to connect to their school students who were earlier, who are the alumni of the schools, and if they are studying at Ashoka, they can connect with them, understand how is what is psychology course, or what is humanity, and they can understand how is the particular institute training, what kind of faculties they have. So this is another approach we have brought. And as Mala was telling, identifying interest, we have another few things we have added more in this entire career counseling environment, or the holistic process that we say is about the students can identify themselves. So we bring in products and program for the student. Say, for example, a student is thinking of law or business management. Now the student is discussing with the counselor. Now there is a concept in the US which has started here in India also, where the student can go to a university and and can do a course on law and business management for 10 days or 15 days, and can then come out, okay, law is good for me, and I don't think business management suits me actually. So the journey actually starts from grade 8, in fact, for students, where they can come to some conclusion at grade 12. So there is program, this summer school program is there in India. There are a lot of universities who are offering. Then we have something like internships. Students can do internships. In India, the law doesn't allow the labor laws. So we have something called virtual internship. A student can understand. He has heard a lot about architecture or maybe fashion designing. Normally, a kid, when he looks at fashion designer, he thinks of ramp walks actually. But what exactly the fashion designing is all about, he can do a virtual internship. Probably the student, the counselor. So basically, these all products and programs we have brought in also for the people who have certified from us. And obviously, our counselor, they do suggest students to identify, explore. Basically, the word is explore. The student explore and they come to a conclusion themselves. Obviously, there are experts, counselors who are helping them out. Probably a student can do an online course or can do a workshop on something, probably a short course from a summer program or something. So these all helps to a student to identify. We as an organization, we are helping students to identify the right choices, in fact. And obviously, we are training individuals also to become counselors who can help the large force in India. And so that's what I would like to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arshad Mahmood, and the entire panelists. There's one thing that was missing that I wanted to really check with all of you. If you could spare 1 minute each of you, and if the organization can just spare us 4 more minutes, because we anyway started a little late because of the little delay after the lunch. If Mala can throw and some light on, Pratik also can throw some light on, is career counseling only meant for students, or it could also be for people who start a career and maybe midway through they also find that no, I think I need a change now, because the world has changed quite a bit from where I started and I need another change now. So career counseling and career guidance is not just for students or teachers. Also the facilitation mode for teachers will change, of course. With career guidance as a guidance as a profession can be for many more years, not just at the student level. Is that something that Mala would like to throw some light on, please?
Okay, I'll go first, and then Pratik, you can take it from there. So I'm just taking a thread from actually what he said, which I loved, which is continuous career guidance. I think Pratik mentioned that earlier, and I think it's fantastic because looking at the future of work and the rate at which the nature of jobs are changing and how much we need to upskill, we're looking at probably having those 1 or 2 jobs that we're going to have for the next 2-3 years. In fact, the whole 10,000 hours to become awesome sauce at what you do has also been disrupted because we've got to so quickly upskill ourselves and get into new territories. And I think the pandemic is the best example. Like, whoever thought we will have a conference online like this, right? Teachers now have to upskill and the nature of job has changed because if you do online classes. So it's a continuous process.
Thank
and
you.
Pratik,
Thank you
please
so much.
go
Pratik,
ahead
would you
and
like to add
that.
something on that? Because I have to take one more panelist, Naufal Ali also.
No, I completely agree. It's a comprehensive, ongoing, continuous process. Also, what we need to understand at the different stages, the expectations and the key output that a client particularly would be expecting when you're working with career coaches is very different. I think at the junior stages, when we are talking about 8th, 9th kids, the idea is more about helping them explore the role of virtual internships, the role of summer schools, the role of certifications, the role of exploration comes in. As you move towards 10th, 11th, 12th, it's more about narrowing down your options, choosing the right subject combinations which open up career opportunities for you. You move towards college, again, the role of internships come in. It's all about, in today's time, it's about how do you use those 3 to 4 years while you are in college more than the brand. Brand is important, but I think those 4 years, how do you use to study? How do you leverage what kind of internships, actually doing the live internships on ground? And as you move up, I think the role of being a life coach as well as a career coach, I would say as you move up, something like life coaching, executive coaching even becomes even more important. And another very interesting thing is as you go up the ladder in terms of the timelines, a student's journey, the role of technology changes. I think there is a huge role technology can play in the earlier days, but as you go up and up, when you're seeing certain seasoned life coaches, executive coaches, all these, it's a lot of interpersonal interaction, and most of the information therein is not it's not advisory really. It's about you have to unearth the kind of suggestions from the client itself. You cannot give ideas, you cannot give suggestions. It's more about finding the answers from them. So I think that's how
So you are basically so well put it across that it's about interacting and identifying the intent and the content that is there, and also leading them to the right kind of solutions that they're looking for, or suggest the right kind of solutions that they should be looking for based on probabilities and possibilities in the future. Thank you, Pratik and Bala. But now we want to get some more information from another eminent panelist, Naufal Ali, who comes from Hikewise, and I'm sure young dynamic team of people would like to add something more to this, and which will help the coaches, of course, and the parents to look at it. And all this is actually blended with an artificial intelligence working on the behavioral science of it, helping all the people using all these tools to make a wonderful platform for all of us to see 3G as a mission, making a positive difference in every home and every business that it can impact on. Naufal Ali, would you like to add on that? How does Hikewise contribute? What can we work together so that coaches and mentors and also the parents and families benefit from this? Naufal?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I must say that, to promise, I won't take more than 10 minutes. So let me, take the discussion forward with the things that have already shared by the other panelists. So basically, I would like to propose this, the conception and the practice, the career development as a policy issue. But the sad reality in our country particularly is that we often be neglected, not given much importance. And this.
Please bear with us. I think he has internet issues.
Yeah, there is a technology challenge there. It happens.
No, from Naufal's side, I think we have internet issues. So probably if Naufal, maybe you can try to. Yes, that would be better. You can turn off your video and speak so that we can manage with that.
Naufal, if you could please continue with putting off your cameras, please.
Yeah,
You're adding
sure.
some valuable
Can you
points.
hear me now?
And I'm
Yeah.
sure all the panelists and audience, all of us are eager to hear you out.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Naufal, are you there?
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible now. You can speak.
Okay, so I was saying that I would be taking this conception and practice as a policy issue. So I think it's not.
Are you there? Can somebody from the audience tell us whether you're able
Aman
to
sir,
hear?
he is speaking. You are not able to hear him. We can hear him.
Oh, is it? I'm
Okay.
not able to hear him.
You are not able to.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for this. So I think it's not, meaningful to address without mentioning the fundamental and the core issues that we as a country and as a society grappling with so far. Like, our colonial legacy and our experiment with the democracy for the last 70 plus years, we have been dealing with issues which created and reinvigorated through our unjust socioeconomic and the cultural structure. Inequality and the exploitation on the basis of the caste, religion, class, race, region, and gender intensify the existing troubles. So when it comes to the education, as everyone knows that we are still struggling with the enrollment issues, rampant inequality in the quality education access, traditional higher education system still grappling, struggling to equip students for the employment. So what I want to sort of argue that the pretty much any other domain, education as a whole and career development in particular, not exempt from this age-old troubles. So what we need a solution which is sort of responsible and espouse the hard realities that I mentioned in the, seconds back. Otherwise, it would be another way to make it counterproductive. We can't afford to do that. So there should be a cooperation between civil society, governments, and policymakers, and tireless and continuous effort in cooperation, cooperative manner with considering the nuances might make some sense. So I largely would more love to take the career guidance, as a communitarian affairs, where the individual who seek the guidance should have the privilege to decide what he wants to explore or consider for his future. So there was a sort of a questions from the moderator regarding the role of the different stakeholders in the career development process. So I would suggest the student should be the central point for this debate, and we all as a sort of career development platform, counselors, teachers, institutions, policymakers, government, NGOs, and all other entities should work to equip the students to make that tough decision or to clear the dilemma that they're going to have. So we as working in the career development industry has the responsibility to take out all the hindrances that is posed through the various ways. As I suggested, we always had to deal with the existing prolonged fundamental issues that I mentioned. And also the social conception of the career, it needs to be changed a lot, like to adopting the newer the technological advancement or the changes in the work culture. The first speaker who talked about the gig economy and other aspects, and also the Pradeep also talked about the awareness level that which we have as a country in our country. And also we have to ensure the participation of the actors and the beneficiaries, and we have to consider their objective largely. And we have to also, I would like to congratulate the team 3G and Dr. Sahid Cholel for conducting this program, because we have to constantly reimagine and rethink the career development as a practice and ideation in our country, like the assessments or the counseling, continuous mentoring processes, and all those aspects. When it comes to the psychometric assessment, I think that is the major topic of the debate. Or I would attempt to make it a comment here by calling as the practices we adopted to tackle this issue. Assessment can be marked as one way of dealing with the problem that we face. So there are, as the Pradeep Bhargav already suggested, there needs to be a continuous mentoring should happen, and also we have to provide to generate the counselors who are not grappling issues with the bias and other aspects. So it's high time to address and make deliberative efforts in the domain. So it's highly appreciated that 3G kicked off the discussion like a program like this. Thank you very much.
Naufal, and in spite of all the challenges of rain and plane crash in Calicut, and you sitting there, able to still put across the technology part of it, which was missing, and also put across a view that was very, very useful to all of us, especially about the psychometric testing tools that are so critical for ensuring that we evaluate and then be able to understand what are the inborn talent that is already there, what is the acquired talent that can be given to the child or the aspirant who is looking for career guidance, and be able to also guide on the newer emerging career opportunities that are coming in so that they can have a harmonious and a happy, successful life. I think this was a very, very useful discussion. I'm sure audience would have benefited from this. And with to add fuel to all these things, there is 3G as a mission coming in, which is bringing a platform for people who want to become career coaches and then be able to go out and actually not have to look for parents. Parents will start looking for career coaches. And that's something like an Uber model coming up over a period of time for education. And what best this can happen, when, especially when the world is looking at working from home and be able to actually have a career. And this is a convergence of all kinds of people who are putting up different solutions and giving the best out of the 360 degree for the career coaches and counselors. And with this, I think we have consumed the time that we had. We would definitely like to listen to many more from Pratik, from Mala, Arshad, and I'm sure even Thomas also wanted to add some more, I'm sure. But because of the lack of time, I'll request all of you to take the details of this gentlemen who are panelists here, and on behalf of 3G, thank them all for giving us this wonderful insights that is required for us to make a choice about becoming a career coach, and also becoming taking an option to become a career coach or a career guidance coach, which is the need of the hour, which is the absolute need of the country, which is the only way forward to ensure that we will be able to have people who are able to choose by a proper evaluation tool and systems and process, awareness, audit, and a right action plan. With this, I would like to conclude this session and thank 3G for giving us this wonderful platform to be able to showcase to all those aspirants who are looking to become career coaches and guidance counselors, to build this country, to beg this country as solution to the entire world. Stay blessed. God bless us all.
Everyone.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you, Naufal. Thank you, Arshad. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Naufal. It's been an amazing discussion. Look forward to many more such discussions in the near future. Over to the organizers, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words. Now it's time for the college for the certificate presentation. Firstly, we wanna give thanks to Dr. Amanullah Khan sir for coming. This is your certificate of appreciation, sir. Kindly take it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Did we miss out on anybody who in the panel? There seems to be somebody whom we missed out. Hemant?
No, sir. Hemant is the next speaker, sir. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thanks.
Now let's move to Arshad Mahmood, sir. Kindly take the certificate. Thank you, sir. Next, our next panelist is Mala Mary Martina, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming, ma'am. Your words were source of inspiration for us. Next, let's move to Naufal Ali, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Next, we have Pratik Bhargava, sir. Thank you, sir. And in last, I want to thank Thomas John, sir. Thank you so much, all the panel speakers. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your words of wisdom. As panel discussion is where all the like-minded people share their thoughts and opinion. I want to thank all of you for coming. Now it's time to
join the mission, build India. Join the mission, build India to serve the world.
Join the mission and build India to serve the world.
Join the mission, build India to serve the world.
Join the mission, build India to serve the world.